The 1999 Chrysler Sebring LXI that nobody seems to want. This is my 1999 Chrysler Sebring LXI 2.5. This thing's got 130-some thousand miles on it. Runs pretty good. It's not exactly the quietest running car on the highway. This thing here has a 2.5. It has 163 horsepower at 5,500 RPM with a 4-speed automatic overdrive transmission. Does have a stiffer suspension. They started in 1997 with that. The LXI models benefited from a 4-wheel double-wheel suspension. Started in 1997. The Sebring Coupe had a 5-star frontal rating safety, if you can believe that. They sold 77,331 of these vehicles, so I think about 95% of these vehicles are probably in the junkyard today. It's a sporty little car, has a little scoop on the back, a little two-door, has an automatic door opener for the gas tank there, and you can see the gold-looking badges all across the vehicle. It has 17-inch 50 225 tires, and you can't put anything any bigger than that on here. If you do, you'll have problems with the tires rubbing the suspension. It does have the factory fog lights, which I'm really impressed at night. They are pretty bright. The headlights, well, are not the best shining headlights at night. They don't shine far enough out into the field, I don't think. And in 1997, they added this mouthpiece, I guess, for better cooling as you're cruising down the highway with the air conditioner on. And there's a look at that massive fog light. Kind of reminds you of the Subaru. This one here is equipped with a full power sunroof, which goes back all the way, about 3/4 of the way, which actually works. This has the V6 24 valve engine. Now this here has a trim package around the bottom here. This has plastic covering up the body panels. The problem is you can't get in here in the wintertime and clean this out, especially if you live in the Northeast. You get rust problems going on. This one here has been fixed. There's been some panels welded underneath here. Overall, it's in pretty decent shape for a Northeast car. These cars today, you could probably pick up a good one for about $2,000. These came with the factory tires. These are the original tires that it should come with size-wise, 225, 50, 17-inch, and the problem is you put anything any bigger on there. You see right here this back suspension piece. I can barely get my finger in between the tire and suspension. You got to be really careful about that, about these tires. You got to have the same size tire on here, and that is probably why this thing rides like a road wagon. But to be fair, anything with low-profile tires is not really designed to be riding like a Cadillac in the first place. Some of the annoying things are the molding strips around the windows here. When you open these doors up here, a lot of times these windows will start to flex over time from age, and they don't seal properly. Kind of reminds me of the old Trans Am with the T-tops. You get down the highway and you have all this wind noise. Well, sometimes on a windy day, you can actually get that because these seals aren't really all that great. Overall, I got to say on this vehicle, the body's in actually pretty good shape. The rocker panels are not rusted out. This vehicle did sit for a while, and this is actually the factory paint on this vehicle. The seats, well, they're leather. If you're in here on a hot day, you can actually fry bacon on the seats. They are very hot. You got that massive windshield there letting the sun in, so the best thing to do is get you a sun shield and block some of those rays, because if you don't, you're going to get cooked pretty fast on a hot day. We've got a passenger side airbag. A lot of these start to get really hot and they peel and bend over time. You can probably put some super glue in there and hold that down. Yeah, we got airbag on the driver's side also. And there that is, and the horn is actually built in part of the airbag here. You got to push on this little button to get the horn work. This is probably why it has a 5-star front end crash rating, which is pretty good, but if you get T-boned from the side, well, probably the numbers are going to drop dramatically. All right, let's get in this thing and show you what we've got in here. And right now, the interior is not all that bad. The thing I really hate the most is this thing is just got plastic everywhere. You put your arm here, you're driving down the highway, and you decide to move, and listen to this. It is just massive plastic here. I wish they would have done something a little different here, because I'm always moving around, and this is just annoying. And you can see overall the interior is not too bad. Right here we have a nice leather seat. The driver's side, not too bad. Starting to peel a little bit. We have a cup holder here. These things always get broken. There's a little spring that goes here, and you can see this is kind of messed up. But they did write cup holder to make you feel a little bit better, because there was no room here to put an actual cup holder with a round circle so you can drop something in. So a lot of people smoking these things, and they drop their ashes there, and sometimes they just drop their ashes in where it says cup holder, and they burn that thing up, so it gets to be kind of a yucky mess. And well, the rearview mirror has seen better days. It looks like it's slowly losing its liquid. This is one of these auto night review mirror, reversible mirror thingies, whatever they call. You push a button and it takes the light from behind you. It makes it not as bright in your eyes, but it is actually kind of messed up there. So that's not the world's best shape. But on the bottom here, this is where your little lights are for when you want to come and go. And you push that button there, that'll turn it off, turn it on. And there is where our button is for our Pearl sunroof. It actually works. We do have a sliding kind of a visor here, but if I pull this out too far, we got a problem, Houston. Yeah, they all do that, and that'll have to be fixed someday. Overall, the headliner's in pretty good shape just for that. Back seat's pretty big, lots of leather there. The big back windshield, and we have some big speakers back there. Now, this stereo system in here is a pretty decent system, but some days this will light up, some days it won't, and today's one of those days. As you can see today, it doesn't work, so off to a stock radio we go. Of course, we got a little tweeter up there, we got a tweeter over there, we got a speaker there that don't work, we got a speaker over here that does work, and in the back we have a speaker on our left side, well, the right side, that does work, and this one over here, nope, don't work. So just like an old typical car, 20 years old, speakers don't work. On the passenger side, you get this nice handle to hold on as you race down the highway, but the driver's side, well, you're not as special. They can care less about you. They didn't put one on this side. You got the airbag to protect you if you do anything dumb. Right now, this particular vehicle is sitting at 131,491 miles. We have the old tachometer there, which is nice. We have good gauges there. We have temperature, oil pressure, not the idiot lights, and we have a fuel gauge over there. So kind of a nice package gauge guide-wise there. And we have the typical heating and cooling system set up here. These here kind of blow pretty good. You can turn those to the left or right. This one here does get you in the driver's face. Some vehicles you can't do that. It's nothing like driving down the highway and can't quite get this right in your face when you're hot. And we have the AC button here. This is a vent recirculate. Of course, the back piece here that tells you which is recirculate or fresh air. Well, it's missing. I thought maybe it'd be in the car. It's not. So maybe someday we'll look for that piece. Massive glove box. We actually have the original owner's manual, which I had to look up the other day to figure out where the fuse was for this guy right here, because people always drop pennies down in here in the cigarette lighter, and they short it out, because I have one of these guys right here that I stick in here, and I do Bluetooth on my radio, so it makes it a little nice there. So if you ever replace any fuses, you actually have to go up under this vehicle, open the door, and right up under here is the fuse block. And it's kind of a tight place to get into, so that's where that is. And on this side here we have our cruise, accelerate, and all that, and also on the dash we have a cruise button for on and off, so never even fooled with that. But I know the cruise control does work. I've actually set it here, and it holds cruise pretty good down the highway. This is a big thing back in the late 90s, early 2000s. You can just push a button, program your own garage door, go in and out. This side you do get a mirror for that good looking person with you on the passenger side. Of course, you're ugly, you don't get one on this side. You gotta look in this mirror that's losing its liquid. And as for the gear shifter, this is a automatic 4-speed, and you have overdrive, and you have the selector button here. You can take it out of overdrive or put it back in overdrive as you're cruising down the highway, and there's a little light that lets you know that you do have it in overdrive or not. Overall, the interior inside is quite interesting. You have this kind of a round-shaped area over here. You got your air vent over here, which they didn't actually put it in the dash. I just stuck in the door. Same way over here. I got the air vent here. My arm will freeze while my left side of the body stays pretty cool. And if you open the door up here, you can see the air comes out of here, goes back into these vents, and comes out over here, which is kind of interesting. We have full power mirrors. You got to flip this little button here left and right, and you move this around like that, and up here there's a little plastic cover that goes there. A lot of people work on these vehicles and they break stuff, and mine's actually sitting down here. There it is. It actually goes right there, so maybe someday I'll fix that. But luckily for me, that was in pretty good shape. We do have a pretty easy parking brake here to work with, and also if you lift this cubby hole up here, we have another area to put some things in here, and also a little hidden thing here. I'm not sure what that's all about, but you can put something there. And we actually got a cup holder here, but this is kind of awkward. You got to flip this up, then put your cup there, and then as you're driving down the road, your elbow will just simply knock it over and spill everywhere. So, you know, it is what it is, and that is it for that. In order to get into your gas tank, You got a handle there you got to pull. Get into the trunk right there. You pull that up. Let's go back here and look at this trunk. Pretty big trunk in the back. Had to change out a bulb yesterday. Pretty easy to do for the tail light. This side over here, it has a place that you can actually see the ground, which is not too bad. It can be fixed. Now, it was really the only bad place on the whole body. This does have an interesting sound system. It has an interesting infinity system in it. Has factory speakers, which I guess they thought this vehicle was worth putting in. You probably had to pay $500 more extra for that. A couple speakers here at the yard sale will stick in here, and that should take care of that. And under this, we have a hidden spare tire, which is actually in pretty good shape. And we have our jack, which actually goes right there. That's where the factory wanted it, and that's where I've kept it all this time. And there's the tire sitting down in there. Overall, this is in pretty good shape. And there's the sticker on the back of the trunk telling you how to put everything together, how to jack your car up, because this doesn't have a frame. You got to be careful where you jack it up, or the jack, if it's rusty, the body's all rusty, that jack is going to go right through the floor, and you're going to have a new hole. Careful how you jack these things up. So overall, I've been driving it for a few weeks now. Not a bad car, like I said. The road noise is pretty bad. This is not a vehicle that you want to take off the road. If you want to take this thing out, keep it in the flatlands. And do not take it in those mountains. You will be stranded and stuck and eaten by a bear with no cell service. So best advice is keep this thing on the flatlands. And it does say the manufacture date was February of 1999. I miss the 90s and most of the 80s. All right, so let's get in, take her for a ride, see how she does. All right, we'll stick the key in, hit it, starts right up. Now on some of these models, they actually had a little bit of an issue with the oil pressure gauge here. It would actually stay low. Mine stays low all the time, but the oil pressure is actually pretty good. Some people think it's the oil sending unit, but I'm not too worried about it. The oil pressure light never comes on, so that's good. See, our water temperature's right where it should be. Idling right where it should be. Everything looks good. Let's take her out on the highway. All right, so I got the seat all the way back, and I have plenty of room in here. A lot of room here between the steering wheel and my belly. Ceiling, you know, my head is not too bad there. Got plenty of room. Let's go down the highway here. Okay, so here we go from a dead stop. Let's see what we got. There's 20, second, third gear. There's third, there's 40. There's 50. And there's 55. So peppy little vehicle, but you can hear just how windy it is when you put the windows down. Now I'll put the windows up, and you can hear that road noise. Not the quietest thing in the world, that's for sure. Maybe you put some sound deadening inside of the door panels, that'll cut down on maybe some of it. But overall, impressive little car. You gotta watch now, because that speedometer, if you look closely there, it's geared for 150 miles an hour, and trust me, it'll do it. Most speedometers at 60 are straight up and down, while straight up and down on this one is 80 miles an hour. So don't get us ticket there, speed demon. All right, we'll come to a stop, and we'll just gradually take off and listen to it shift. There's second. There's third. There's fourth gear. And there's overdrive. Pretty smooth transmission. I'm pretty impressed. All right, so overall, good running little car. Here's a look at the engine. You can listen to it. Purring like a kitten. The 2.5 V6 24 valve engine. Gotta say, the engine is actually pretty impressive for this vehicle. A lot of Chryslers engines had a problem with the valves smoking, valve seats going bad. This one here seems to do not have that problem, which is great. The only issue I had with it is there's a pulley down here that you cannot buy. It's been discontinued, and it actually tightens up this power steering belt, and Chrysler made it unavailable, discontinued, so we actually had to manufacture a pulley to get on there. Other than that, if you start it up in the morning, you hear kind of a rattling noise. It's actually on that side, and that's only one particular pulley will fit on that, and that is from 1995 to 1999, and some of the Avengers back in the 90s will fit on there. You cannot get that pulley anywhere else. Overall, the cooling system is in great shape. Air conditioner works. Check out the oil, and you can see it is pretty clean. A little bit on the dipstick here, can't hardly see, and you can see the fan just kicked on. For the cooling system, that is very important on these engines. Got to make sure that works, especially if you turn the air conditioner on. And the battery's not too old, about a year or so. Everything is really compact in here, and here you have a secondary fuse block. You can get into some fuses. This is some more serious stuff here. You check the transmission's a little on this side. Pretty good shape. A little dark, but I've seen a lot worse. And back here we put our windshield washer fluid, so that's a little bit easier to get to. And we got this massive brake fluid container here. And you got all this writing on here. It says clean filter cap before removing and all that. So they want to make sure this stays nice and clean. So this thing's got some pretty serious brakes on it. 4-wheel disc brakes all the way around, which stops this thing on a dime. And there's a look at those fog lights, pretty bright. You can see this one over here coming down the highway. You can see this thing coming, that's for sure. So if you get this thing sitting in your driveway at the right angle with the light coming in and everything, people might go, well, hey, that's a nice looking car in your driveway. Then again, you might think, I hate this car, I gotta get rid of it. So I guess it really depends on your preferences. But overall, you can listen to the engine here run. And this is a front wheel drive vehicle. So there you go, there's a listen to this engine. And one thing I noticed is why they have an airbag written on the VIN number there. I don't quite understand that. Maybe if you work on the car, the airbag will go boom. Then again, it's just probably a precautionary thing. Now this vehicle did have a little bang on the front here. We straightened this out the best we can. Picked up a headlight at the junkyard for $20, and overall, doesn't look too bad, but if you wanted to fully restore this vehicle, you'd have to get another fender of the same color, and that's really all you would need at this point. But it is nice to see that I have the luxury of power seats. Really, the only seat that needs to be fixed or maybe taken care of a little bit better or repaired is the driver's seat. Everything else looks pretty good in this vehicle. Now, before we take off again, drive down the highway, one thing you will notice is, and this is pretty typical for Chrysler, if I open the door up here, put this thing down in gear, when you hear it and go in gear, you'll hear a bunch of clicking noise. That's the solenoids in the transmission working, so check this out. It almost sounds like I'm at Grandma's house and she had too many onions for lunch. But that's pretty typical for Chrysler, especially in the late 90s, early 2000s. And as for the code reader, well, everything seems to check out pretty well. We don't have any DTTs or anything, which is good. Although the O2 and the CAT hasn't quite cycled because I had the battery unhooked the other day. So once it runs a little bit more, that'll probably clear up. But overall, I don't have anything major wrong with it. Shifts and runs great. Then again, I'm thinking, why am I even doing this vehicle? Nobody wants this thing. But who knows, maybe someone has one, it's in great shape, and they want to continue hanging on to it. I mean, after all, if it's paid for, you're saving all that money. Who wants to pay $30,000 today for a vehicle that this thing does for about $2,000 that you can pick up on the used market? So it really depends on how you feel when you wake up in the morning, I guess. Alright guys, so there you go. Overall, not a bad car, just a little noisy on the inside, and that is partially due to the low profile tires and also probably the lack of sound deadening material in the vehicle. I've had other cars that rode just as good and were a lot quieter, especially my Dodge Neon, but hey, for $24,000 in $1999, what do you want? Alright, so that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Let me know where you're watching from right now, and do you have a Chrysler Sebring? Would you own one, or would you just take it straight to the junkyard? Let me know in the comments section, and until my next video, drive safe. I'll see you later.